Hello again. This week I chose to look a little into the Head Start program. The reason why I chose to look a little bit more into that was because I've learned about it so many times, but I don't think I've really understood it. And now that I know that social workers are involved in the Head Start program, I figured it would be important to learn a little bit more about it. So the book talks about how social workers are there for mostly the education and um, counseling services for the Head Start program. The actual Head Start program is led by teachers that have a job as teaching, and then the students are younger kids, but social workers are involved in different aspects. So, to start, the news article that I found was actually from Deseret News, and I try to keep it local. And this is from Utah. So it's called Report Despite Low Funding, Utah's Head Start programs meet quality thresholds. And there's a lot of factors that go into what they determine a quality threshold for that program. But they basically said that Utah's Head Start programs are of higher than average quality despite lower than average funding. And they had a report done examining the federally funded preschool program, the Head Start program. So the news article talked about how Utah is one of the lower funded states for Head Start. It's not a very big difference, but when you take into factor the amount per child, it adds up quickly. They said that when adjusted for cost of living, Utah children are funded slightly below the national average, according to the report, at $7,398 per child, compared to the national average, which is $8,038. And so it is not a big difference. It's about $800. But when you think about that's per child, when you think about, they said that there's 900,000 students in the Head Start program at a yearly. And so within a state, there's probably 50 to 60 or more thousand students. So that 800 times that many students, it adds up. But they talked about how even though they are one of the lower funded states, they are doing just fine, and they are able to meet the quality thresholds and keep their repertoire. Other researchers have found that early education often has long-term improvements in life outcomes. So this is a study based on Utah. Even as educational gains fade, other measures like arrest rates in high school and graduation rates often improve. And there's a lot of studies on Head Start programs and what effects they do. Most of them are studies on how the Head Start program affects later in school, like high school years. So the goal for the Head Start program is for these students to be successful in school and make it through high school and graduate, so that they can go on to college if that's what they want to do. The journal article that I found was called Keeping Kids on Track, Impacts of a Parenting-Focused Early Head Start Program on Attachment, Security, and Cognitive Development. And keeping it still in Utah, I found this study, which was a study done on residents of northern Utah and southern Idaho. So same-ish region of the United States. This was a study done by, I think, Utah State University. But the home-based early Head Start program in this study was aimed to promote children's early attachment and cognitive developing by establishing supportive relationships with parents and guiding responsive parenting and positive parent-child play interactions. And so the way they did that, they tested the effectiveness of what they wanted to do. They studied the development of secure-based behavior and cognitive skills in infants and toddlers from low-income families in northern Utah and southern Idaho, who had been randomly assigned to the program or comparison group. So there's two groups. The one that was compared, so basically the actual Head Start program, and then the group that they wanted to study was the parenting-focused early Head Start program. So this was basically saying there was a lack of social workers, so it was mainly in-home parenting-based. And what they found was that both attachment security and cognitive development for the early Head Start children were doing better than would be expected. And for the comparison group, so the regular Head Start program, they were worse than expected based on their earlier assessments and the levels of risk. They said that the results indicated a positive impact of the program on developmental outcomes that were vulnerable to the negative effects of poor maternal education, and in the case of attachment security, maternal depression. And the results show that the impact of the program on attachment security was greater for mothers with lower education. So it kind of tied in different areas. This one was tied a lot with the mother's education, and since this study was done on parenting focused early Head Start program, a lot had to do with the parents, and so if the mother had lower levels of education, there were lower ratings of maternal behavior competence, and that was due to the warmth, effect, and engagement of the mothers. So that's what they found in that study. And so both of these articles talked about the Head Start program in Utah specifically. It's not all the same around the world, but for the most part, the Head Start program is very positively impacting on younger children's lives for the lower income families, and they saw that it is useful, and for the most part, the goal is for the children to get through high school without any problems, and they do find for the past 50 something years, I can't remember how long it's been, but other than little small problems periodically, for the most part, it has been a positive impact. So social workers can be part of that positive impact on children's lives and these families' lives. For the Code of Ethics, there's a section called Education and Training, which is section 3.02. It says social workers who function as educators, field instructors for students, or trainers should provide instruction only within their areas of knowledge and competence, and should provide instruction based on their most current information and knowledge available in the profession. So the other section, social workers who function as educators or field instructors for students should take reasonable steps to ensure that clients are routinely informed when services are being provided by students. So for the social workers involved in the Head Start program, they need to be educated, and they need to notify their students of what they're teaching, and be involved in their lives. So they need to be trained for that. And then just to finish off, the question that I wanted to leave you guys off with to think about and to answer is, what could be some potential benefits for social workers within the Head Start program wanting to work collaboratively with families of young children? So what kind of impacts can you make on these families, and what are the potential benefits of doing that? And I'll leave you with that, and I'll see you guys next week.